Hello class 10C. In our previous class, where we have seen the chemical reactions of acids, and in that basically we discuss about reaction with active metals, what will happen when acid reacts with active metals like sodium, zinc, okay, and basically we have seen for sodium, okay. So another we have seen reaction with bases, and we know that it is called as neutralization reaction because when an acid reacts with base, salt and water is produced, that we call neutralization reaction. The third one we discussed was action of dilute acids on salt, and in that we discuss about hydrogen carbonates and carbonates, sulfides, bisulfides, sulfides. Then we also discuss about reaction of acids with chlorides and nitrates. Fine. Now today we'll discuss about bases. We completed about the acid portion. Now we'll discuss about bases. So bases, a base is any metal oxide that contains oxide O2 minus or metal hydroxide containing hydroxide ion. So bases are that compound which can be metal oxide or it can be a metal hydroxide. Similarly, there is a term called alkalis which is related with the bases. So an alkali is a base that is soluble in water. So alkali is a base that is soluble in water. Alkalis produce hydroxide ions when dissolved in water. So when uh, alkali are dissolved in water, they produce hydroxide ion, OH minus ion. So this is the definition between bases and alkalis. Now bases, as we just discussed, is a metallic oxide, metallic hydroxide, ammonium hydroxide, which reacts with the hydronium ion produced by acid to give salt and water only. This is the definition of bases. So basic oxide and basic hydroxide, we have to make the difference between these. Metallic oxides containing oxide ions which react with acid to form salt and water, they are called basic oxide. So basic oxide, say for example copper oxide reacts with HCl acid to give you salt and water, so it is a basic oxide. Basic hydroxide means metallic hydroxides containing hydroxyl ions which react with acid to give salt and water. So over here basic hydroxide is calcium hydroxide, reacts with water, reacts with sulfuric acid to give you calcium sulfate and water. So both metallic oxide as well as metallic hydroxide, they react with water to give you, they react with acid to give you salt and water. Next, is lead oxide PbO2 a base? Let us see whether it is base or not, because the one important reaction to identify whether it is base or acid is, so we made to react base with an acid. If salt and water are produced, then it will be called as base. So it is not lead oxide, it is not to be considered as a base, as when it reacts with hydrochloric acid it produces lead chloride, water and chlorine, so it is not considered as a base. So why it is not considered as a base? Because when this oxide, lead oxide, reacts with hydrochloric acid, it gives you lead chloride, chlorine and water. So according to the neutralization process, it should give only the salt and water, but there is another one more product, that is chlorine. So because of that, it will not be considered as a base. Next, alkalis. Alkalis once again. Alkali is a soluble basic hydroxide, because as we came to know that a base which is soluble in water is an alkali, which when dissolved in water yields hydroxyl ion. So when you dissolve in water, it will give you OH minus ion as the only negatively charged ion. So this will be only a negatively charged ion that is produced when dissolved in water. Sodium, potassium and calcium oxides and hydroxides are alkalis. So sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide and calcium oxides and their hydroxides are alkalis because they will dissolve in water, they will be soluble. Others metallic oxides, hydroxides are insoluble in water, so are bases. So there are other metallic oxides and hydroxides which are not soluble in water, so they are called bases. Most common alkalis: sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide. They completely dissociate into water to form hydroxyl ion as the only negatively charged ion. So they are called as strong alkali. So strong alkali is that alkali which when dissolved in water it completely dissociates to give you OH minus ion. That will be strong alkali. Similarly, weak alkali means they do not completely dissociate or ionize in water. That are weak alkali. Example, calcium hydroxide and ammonium hydroxide. They are weak alkali. Now, there is a saying, one important statement. Other metallic oxides and hydroxides are bases but not alkalis. Okay, so this one. All alkalis are bases but all bases are not alkalis. Okay, so to understand the meaning of this term, so the meaning is all alkalis. So if you take an alkali, they are the base which is soluble in water, but there are some bases which are not soluble in water, so they cannot be called as alkali. So the statement says that all alkalis are bases but all bases are not alkali. So this proves that this statement. Assignment 5, today's assignment. Question number 1, what are bases and alkalis? Question number 2, define the following terms with an example. A, basic oxide, and B, basic hydroxide. You need to define it. You can give the example as well. Question number 3, why lead oxide PbO2 is not a base? Question number 4, what are strong and weak alkali? Give 2 examples of each. And question number 5, all alkalis are bases but all bases are not alkalis. Explain the statement. So you can give the example to explain this statement. Complete this assignment and send it in my mail.